So hi, sir.
Hi, how are you doing?
So thanks. So when did you first know about the Martian, the book, and how did you feel like reading the first time?
I was handed it, I think, 12 months ago, and I read it. I was planning what it'll now be called Alien Covenant, which we're now in process. We're making it now. And so I read the screenplay first. They said, read this because it's finished. You're still working on the other one. And I read the screenplay. I loved the screenplay. And I checked the book and to see if there was anything else. But the screenplay was very, very good adaptation. I said, I'll do it. So I met with Drew. And Drew's a director. So I was confused. I said, why don't you do this? It's really good. He said, well, I've got something else. He said, so you want to do it? I said, absolutely. It was that simple.
So there's a lot of science, technology, and geek stuff in it. So is it sort of scary? Is it hard to put all this into the movie?
I'm not. I was academically disastrous, and therefore I'm not a geek in that sense. Geeks usually are smart, right? So at school I wasn't very smart, but I learned to do my own way. I was a very, very good art student. And art school, for me, ended up with the best art school maybe in the world, is the Royal College. And I learned everything there, and I still use everything I learned at the Royal College every day when I'm making a movie. So I plan my movies I can draw. I draw very well. And I draw the whole film. So I get to make the film on paper before I get to film it, so I can see exactly what I want. So the technology of working out, the mathematics of ASCII, A-S-C-I-I, which is kind of algebraic use and information of alphabet and figures, where he has to work out the thing with the clock, the circle. I read it, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. But when I bought it, I suddenly realized the logic of how it would work. So then I was able to say, right, we do this, 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 and this. So it's telling it in pictures.
So is there any part of the screenplay that you felt like it's too sciencey or too technological that you can't put?
No, the fact I read it, and I may not understood absolutely, but I knew it made sense. So I was more challenged to discover what was I missing? How do I make this clear? And so, but making it clear, of course, you do it in pictures. You can do a bit of talking, but pictures are more. Who said that? I think Hitchcock said pictures are worth 1,000 words. Hitchcock storyboarded everything himself. It's interesting.
So, what's the role of NASA in the production of this movie?
What's the
role of NASA?
Very helpful. NASA and JPL. JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Pasadena. NASA is, NASA deal with the astronauts and the ships, and JPL supply the robots. So there's a robotic, right now, over Mars, there are 3 satellites going all the time as we speak. There'll eventually be 11, and there's still a vehicle walking around there with a little toy at the film. They call that a sojourner. That's attached to the triangular thing that opens up, and that's the mother. The sojourner goes inside, and in the morning it opens up. The sojourner travels around, does its scientific work, samples the ground, analyzes it, puts it back into the mother. The mother transmits it. They've had vehicles doing that now for 20 years. That's JPL. Genius.
So you're already famous for many other science fiction movies. So how would you compare The Martian to other productions?
It was a departure. I mean, good, it was a relief. There's no monsters. No monsters, thank God, no monsters. And yet I like monsters, but monsters are very difficult to design, make them really special. That's tricky. But I like the fact that this was all about the science of it. But I love the fact that science and the peril that he's in peril on a minute-by-minute basis. When he walks outside in that suit, he could die in a heartbeat. and always unforeseen things, like his airlock explodes and it nearly kills him. It kills all his plants. So there's one problem after another, but I think it's always interesting that it's shored up, it's sustained by its great humor. Humor, under those circumstances, comes from courage. That humor is not humor, it's courage.
Okay, thank you. So,
Okay.
So hello, Mr. Kimberg. I'm from果壳.com. So when did you first know about this book, The Martian, and how do you feel about it first reading it?
Well, it was about, maybe 2.5 years ago. Not that long, actually. And when I read it, it was Andy Weir, the novelist, was self-publishing it online as an ebook. It wasn't actually a physical book yet. He didn't even, I don't think, have a book deal at the time.
That's right.
And someone that works with me, Aditya Sood, who's one of the other producers in the film, brought the book to me and said, "You got to read this. It's amazing." And I sat down. I was very busy. I was in the middle of making another film, but I sat down thinking I would read 20 pages of it, 30 pages to get a sense of it. And I read the whole thing in one sitting. And I was absolutely smitten. I was in love with it from the first time I read it. And I went right into Fox, where I have a producing deal, and said, "Just buy this book. You have to buy this book. Just trust me. You don't even have to read it. It's the guy's self-publishing it. It's not going to cost you a ton of money." And they said, "Fine." And I, what I felt about it then is what I feel about it now. It's just such a completely original voice. And the movie so brilliantly captures the voice and the essence of the book, which is optimistic, which is funny, which is human, exciting, entertaining. It's sort of all these things that I grew up loving in movies like Star Wars and the Terminator films and these sort of big, entertaining science fiction movies. But it's also very real. And that's the thing I'd never really seen before as a science fiction story that was this real and this fun.
Yeah. So it's kind of surprising that a book with so much science in it could get such a big production. So why do you think producers would like to invest in this movie?
Well, I think the story is a big story, which is like Gravity or Interstellar or Apollo 13 or these movies about being lost or in jeopardy in space. It's a big world to play in visually. But I think the thing that really drew the filmmakers to it, the other producers, Ridley, Scott, and then the actors as well, was the tone of the book and as captured in the script. I mean, Drew Goddard wrote an absolutely beautiful script that balanced exactly what you said. It balanced this sort of really nuts and bolts science with something fun and humorous and completely entertaining. So you don't feel like you're getting a science lesson, but you are learning a lot about science, which is a neat combo.
Yeah. So is it difficult in putting all those science into a movie? Is it?
It's really difficult to put all that science into the movie and keep it fun.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think was the challenge of adapting the book, was to hold on to all that science and reality, but make it dramatic and cinematic. I mean, one of the things about the book is it's basically a diary, that one guy is keeping. So to find ways to make that visual, to make that cinematic, that's one of the reasons why we were so blessed to get Ridley Scott. He's maybe the most, or certainly one of the most visual cinematic storytellers we've ever had in the medium. So there's no danger that anything is going to become boring visually with Ridley.
Cool. And how did you get NASA to help you produce this movie?
Well, they were huge fans of the book. NASA loved how realistic the representation of space travel was, and they loved what they felt was a very realistic representation of astronauts. So they didn't need convincing. They were in before we were making the movie.
So I know you did a lot of work with the X-Men series. That's also sort of a science fiction movie. So how would you compare those kind of science fiction with this?
Well, the X-Men movies are more supernatural than Martian. Martian is really grounded in real-world science, whereas obviously, as of yet, there are not mutants in our midst. So it's a little more fictional, the X-Men movies. And the tones are very different. The X-Men is a sort of a very serious, almost like theatrical, operatic tone to it. whereas Martian is actually a little lighter on its feet, a little more humorous. But really, Martian is a movie that takes place roughly in our world in the future, but the world we live in, whereas X-Men is, people fly around and have lasers come out of their eyes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.